Hello everyone, this is Nikki Rowland and today I've got a layout to share for Cocoa Vanilla Studio. I am using the fabulous Deck the Halls collection. I'm well into my Christmas scrapbooking now. I love this squares paper. I had to do something with this. I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with it, but I knew that I had to use it. I've got in a collection pack you normally get two, so I was thinking maybe one I could use the other side and one I could just cut up all the squares and use them as embellishments, but then I thought no, I'm going to make a layout purely with those and make a real feature out of this paper because it's just so gorgeous. But it could be used definitely to cut out and use as extra embellishments 100%. Okay, so I am going to spend a bit of time cutting up all the rows and fussy cutting out all of those frames. Now some of those have got straight edges and some of them have got really curly edges, some are scalloped, some have got detail on the corners. So it's a little bit of a labour of love. And I've got these two photos of us and my family at a little photo shoot we went to last year. And you've got me and my son and then me and my daughter. So the two together worked really well. So I thought I would pair those two together and use those somehow. I wasn't quite sure, again, not quite sure how I was going to use them, whether I was going to arrange the frames around them or what. So what I actually ended up doing was trimming them right down and placing them inside some of the frames. So yeah, I wasn't quite sure if that would work because I had to trim them down quite a lot and I lost all the white space around the photos, but it works okay. I'm really happy with how it turned out. And it wasn't working with them being kind of portrait and sitting within the design. Okay, so you can see that, I've skipped forward now. I've spent some time fussy cutting out all of those frames and I've got my two photos inside the frames. And now I've decided that I'm going to add some stitching detail to some of the frames. Not all of them, but 4 of them. So I've pulled out some colours that match them, and I've decided which frames I'm going to sew. And I've gone for 4 in 4 different colours. So a dark navy, a pinky corally red. Then there's also a greeny colour. And I've got a light pink as well. Now on the light pink and the dark blue, I'm going to chain stitch around the edges of those frames. So we'll get a bit of a chunky look. And around the other 2, I'm just going to do a straightforward kind of running stitch. And I use a paper piercing tool and piercing guide because I've long since established that as much as I think I'm capable of evenly spacing my holes, I can't do it. They're always wonky, uneven, too far apart, too close together, don't reach the end spaced correctly. So I've started to always use a stitching guide to get my holes in the right place. Okay, and evenly spaced. Right, you saw that my little stitching details there. So now what I have to do is get all of my squares stuck onto my page. So some of them are stuck flat, some of them are raised on foam pads. The ones that are stitched are all raised on foam pads. My 2 photos, the frames around the photos are raised on foam pads. So I've got quite a lot of dimension going on this layout, but not every square. And now I just need to add my embellishments. So I've got the main bones of the layout and I've got the stitch detail on there, but now I need to add some embellishments. Now, obviously this layout is very busy because every square has got something in it, either a photo or an icon. So how do I add embellishments to this layout without it looking cluttered? So I just chose to go for 3 little areas I'm just going to tuck in behind the squares some little bits of Floral Ephemera and some other bits as well, but nothing major. So I'm starting off with the flowers and I'm just kind of seeing how that looks, working that out, tucking those in. I'm giving them some dimension by curling them up a bit with my fingernail and I'm probably going to raise them on foam pads, or certainly in parts of them. What I tend to do is when I'm sticking something behind something, I'll stick that bit flat with like double-sided tape, but then the parts that stick out, I'll pop a foam pad under those so that they stay raised and their dimension continues to show. So yes, you can see that I've got my 3 little areas going on there. And then I had a little panic that I've got no title. What am I going to do for a title? I hadn't really worked that into the design at all, which is unlike me. I just got very carried away with all those beautiful squares. Anyway, I went for the beautiful gold title phrase stickers. I've pulled out "'Tis the Season." I've decided to add that down the right-hand side, going vertically rather than horizontally, and try to make that part of the design. Now, if I had thought of this earlier, I would have made sure that all the squares were over to the left-hand side a bit more, so I had more room to add my title. But as it happens, I didn't think of it. The title was a last-minute addition. I was like, oh, whoops. But, however, having the flowers on the other side balances that out because it makes it a wider design anyway because those flowers reach the edge of the layout. So actually, it worked out okay. I was worried it was going to look lopsided, and when I realised my mistake, I was like, oh, what am I going to do now? But just, sometimes you just have to go for these things, don't you? And paper crafting is not perfect. It's handmade, and I think that, sometimes when things aren't totally perfect, that's okay because that's the nature of being homemade. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. So you can see also that I added a little black border using a ruler and a fine liner pen. And I went all the way around the outside edge. Now, this showed me how wonky a lot of my squares were, because obviously a ruler is straight, and my fussy cut frames and the way I've stuck them on the page, the ruler then showed up my imperfections a little bit more. But I say I'm embracing imperfections today, and I'm just not worrying about it. So there are parts where my border is wider than others, that's fine, I don't mind. To my little clusters, I've also added some phrase stickers from the accessory sticker sheet. I love all the phrases, they're lovely. I've got Tinseltown, Jingle All the Way, Oh Christmas Tree, No Peeking, Making Spirits Bright, and Merry Moments. So all of those lovely little phrases, they work really well. I've also added in some little bits of chipboard from the chipboard stickers, just a little gold star over at the top embellishment cluster, and a little blue star over on the left embellishment cluster. And now I'm just dropping in some large drops of gold ink. Or gold paint. I wanted to have some larger splatters, if you like. I'm going to come in with some smaller splatters, but I wanted some large ones. To do that, I had to kind of drop them onto the page, and then they didn't dry. So that was a little bit problematic. I had to try and wick them up a bit, and it wouldn't wick. So anyway, it did work out in the end. I just had to leave them for quite a few hours to dry. But there we go, all finished. I hope that you love this layout. I really love it. I love how it came together. I love the stitching detail. I love all the frames. I love the dimension, and I just love this collection. So I hope that you enjoyed it too. Thank you very much for joining me today. That was Nikki Rowland for Cocoa Vanilla Studio using Deck the Halls.